Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Jordan Montgomery. Hey, Jordan.
How are you doing, Cesar? Thank you for having me, brother.
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for being here. Before we dive in, let me just give the listeners and viewers a little bit of your background. Jordan is the owner of Montgomery Companies. He's a highly regarded performance coach and keynote speaker whose clients include business executives, sales organizations, and entrepreneurs. From small town Iowa to dominant force in the performance coaching industry, Jordan travels the country speaking and coaching executives at Fortune 500 companies, professional athletes, and salespeople. That's awesome, man. And definitely, I think the highlight of every person that I bring here is really how they got there, right? And so I'm always interested to learn more about their upbringing and how was that for them, their childhood, and all those good things. So tell me more about that.
Well, yeah, man, I grew up in small town Iowa, as you stated. I actually grew up, Cesar, in the largest Amish community west of the Mississippi River. So,
Wow.
I'm from a small town, man. I grew up with great parents and a good family with strong values. I went to the University of Iowa. I'm a proud Hawkeye alumni. And when I came out of school, I just wanted to own my own business. My dad was a blue collar business owner. He owned a little painting company. So it's nothing fancy, but I watched the way that my dad created his own schedule, and he was a participant at every one of my games. He never missed an activity. He was always around for his family when we had important events. And I wanted that. I really wanted that for my own family. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had two problems. I had no money and I had no knowledge. And so I needed to find an opportunity where I could be in business for myself, but not by myself. And I started in the financial services industry. I had a support system. I didn't have to have any capital, but I had a lot of great people around me that helped me grow a business. And then through some, hard work and good luck and success, I was able to pivot into the space that I'm in now, which is, full scale coaching and consulting, now working with people in multiple industries. But it really started for me, man, out of this love for entrepreneurship and my dad's example.
Yeah, definitely. There's a few things you mentioned there. First is you said you have no money, right? And so a lot of times people that want to get into entrepreneurship or that aspect, that's definitely one thing that they talk about is I have no money, therefore I cannot do X, Y, and Z. Do you believe that you really do need to have money or some sort of money, or really you can do without no money to be able to venture out?
Well, money's important. I mean, if you want to be an entrepreneur, obviously you got to be in a business where you can create opportunity, or you can have other people help you create the opportunity in the beginning. So I don't want to minimize the importance of having access to resources. And I do think that's something that holds certain people back, Cesar. So that's real. And, money is important. However, I think there's something to be said about doing the most you can with what you have. And, as you study top entrepreneurs, if we look at some of the most successful people that were great innovators, great entrepreneurs, they started with very little, but they decided to do the most that they could with what they had. And I think if you're willing to go all in with what you have, it will prepare you for the next opportunity. You want to bloom where you're planted.
Yeah.
Do the most that you can with all that you have, and typically things work out. And if that means working for minimum wage, if that means volunteering, if that means putting yourself in a situation where you have access to certain people through your hard work and through your effort, Maybe you have to work a full-time job and do something else on the side to make it work. I think it's just bloom where you're planted, figure it out, and do everything that you can.
Right. Yeah, and I think it goes back to that. You just gotta make sure you're in it and you're committed, whatever that might be, right? You gotta just
That's right.
Give it all you have. And part of that too, I think, is taking those risks, those smart risks, right? I mean, obviously everything's risky, and sometimes because we feel like, well, we don't have enough, or we have very little, we tend to not take that risk. Yet that risk might be the risk you need to take to be able to take it to the next level, right?
Yeah. And it's not just a financial risk, right? I think it's the emotional risk.
Right. Yeah.
It's the risk of being rejected, right? It's the risk of failure. It's the risk of it not working out the way that you wanted it to work out. So the emotional risk that you take is directly tied to the opportunity that you create. Period. Right? The emotional risk that you take is directly tied to the opportunity that you create. Now, some people might argue that. And I know people, I was just talking to one of them the other day, one of my favorite people, grew up in severe poverty. And he took an emotional risk by telling his family members, he's like, look, I'm going to be the first of my family to go to college education. And people laughed at him and told him he couldn't do it. There was emotional risk associated with making that move. And he made it, right? He faced rejection. People laughed at him, told him he couldn't do it. It wasn't possible. They tried to hold him down, hold him back, but he figured it out. He made a way. He did all that he could with all that he had, and he figured it out. And I also understand there's certain barriers that we can't overcome, right? There's people with, disabilities, and there's real factors in today's world that I don't want to dismiss those things. But generally speaking, when you step out and decide to get uncomfortable and become the best version of yourself, and you take some risk, it is directly tied to the opportunity that you end up creating in this life. And most people aren't willing to fail. They're not willing to take that risk. John Maxwell said it best. He said, we should be failing on a regular basis. If you're not failing, it means you're probably not moving forward.
Right.
So the message to the audience is take the risk. You're going to fail emotionally, financially, relationally, and you'll be better off long-term because of it.
Yeah, and I don't know who did it. I don't know if it was Les Brown or somebody mentioned this, or maybe Jim Rohn. The only risk that you cannot really win is the risk of death, right? I mean, everything else you can come out of it alive. Except losing your life, you're not gonna come out of it alive, right? So it's just being able to take that and being able to do that. You talk about you're getting into being an entrepreneur and all those things, and talked about. Perhaps it was good luck. Was it really good luck, or was it really more determination? Was it more hard work? Was it really more, I guess my question is, what is your opinion of, people say, well, that was lucky. You have good luck, right? I mean, what is your opinion on that? Because I don't think a lot of times it's not so much about having good luck. It's about all the things that you put in, before that. It might seem as good luck, right?
Well, you know this quote, Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Right.
And so some of this whole, it was luck, or the harder I work, the luckier I get. What happens, Cesar, is it's perspective, right? What you focus on expands. And so when you choose to see opportunity, you naturally get luckier. And guess what? You see more opportunity when you're working harder. When you're immersed in the moment, when you're really involved in what you're doing, when you're truly blooming where you're planted, when you're giving everything that you've got with all that you have to the current opportunity, you see more, you notice more. There's more opportunity around you. And so, yeah, you get luckier, but it's because you've been doing the work. It's because you've been giving all that you have with everything that you got to the situation at hand. So yes, you get luckier, but it's directly tied to your perspective, which is directly tied to how focused you are in the current and present moment.
Right. And obviously somebody looking at you and listening to you, they're going to feel like you have everything figured out. Except tell me about a time where one of your biggest obstacles was being able to overcome the job loss and nearly bankruptcy. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, man. First off, I'm not like, I'm just like everybody else, right? We all go through difficult stuff. I think if you got a pulse and you're breathing, you've either just been through a storm, you're in a storm, or maybe you're going into a storm, right? And it's just sort of the cycle of life. We all deal with adversity. And somebody said this the other day, they said adversity builds character. I'm not sure that's true. I think adversity builds character if you choose to see the opportunity. If you choose to have optimism, if you work hard, if you stay present, you stay focused, you're a prayerful person, you look forward to the future, I think then you can overcome adversity. I love the title of your show. You can overcome, anything. But I think then it does build character. And, at 27 years old, Caesar, I thought I had life figured out. I was living in the proverbial penthouse, I had a full bank account. I was on a plane every other week, speaking to an organization. I was working for a big Fortune 100 company, and I was one of the top producers, top leaders inside that company. And when I was 27, the leader of that organization pulled me aside. He said, "Jordan, this is going to be your last day working with our firm." And I made a mistake. There was a person on my team that took a test on my behalf. I didn't report it like I should have. And because of that, I lost my job. But I didn't just lose my job. I was building a house at the time, a house probably bigger than what I should have been building as a single 27-year-old guy. And Caesar, all my identity was wrapped up in my achievement, right? So I'm building this house. I lose my job. The bank decides that they want to re-underwrite the loan. Okay, well, I was in a commission-based job. So most banks aren't going to give guaranteed income to a young 27-something-year-old that, it's like, I don't know if you are really good for this, right? So I was prepared to file bankruptcy. I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to move forward with this real estate project when I have zero income and I'm dealing with other debts and liabilities. So, God answered prayers. Some people stepped into my life that helped me through that situation. But here's the coolest thing that happened, Caesar. And here's what I want people to hear, because somebody's listening to this right now that's struggling. Somebody listens to your show every single time that needs a message from you or somebody else. And it's not anything great that I have to say. It's just the fact that somebody tuned in and this is going to meet them where they're at. Sometimes God's preparation is packaged as pain. Sometimes God's preparation is packaged as pain. In other words, sometimes for you to get to where you need to be in life, you got to go through something difficult. Because when we're really broken, when we're on our knees, when we're truly broken, we're in a powerful position. We're in a position to learn. We're in a position to absorb. We start to depend on others. We start to ask for help. We start to pray. You start to ask God, "Hey, Lord, please help me. I'm struggling. I'm down and out." You start to see things that you didn't see before. You start to live with gratitude for the small things. And so that's what happened to me at 27 years old, Caesar, is I was down and out, and I realized, man, I need help. I need people. I need counsel. I need friendship. I need faith. And the coolest thing that happened for me, Caesar, is God prepared me in that season to be a dad and a husband. I wanted him to restore my financial situation, which he did over time. But I thought, God, for you to make this right, then you're going to have to help me build an even bigger business. You're going to have to help me put this back together even better than it was before. And I think he was saying, "Hey, Jordan, there's something I want to do with your life. I want to prepare you for more important roles, for a bigger chapter, for another step. And I can't do that if you're still dealing with pride and idolatry and ego and all kinds of identity issues." And so I was being prepared for that season. And I'm not saying God caused it, but I think sometimes he allows those things to happen. Right. And sometimes his preparation for that next season of our life is packaged as pain. So if you're listening and you're going through something right now, I just have you consider that. Whatever you're going through right now, maybe you can't see it. Maybe it hurts like hell. Maybe you just can't imagine a scenario or a way out. But I promise you, if you stay present, you continue to be prayerful, there is another chapter. And your pain can be preparation for that next chapter.
Yeah. I love that message, and it's very true. I mean, I really love the idea and the message, and oftentimes, from pain a purpose is born, right? And when we see that, there's definitely so many different opportunities that we can have, and at the moment we don't see it, right? As you said, we're either in a storm, going through a storm, or getting out of a storm. That pain, though, could very well have created something even bigger and better, not just for your life, impacting your life, also impacting other people's lives, right? And so I definitely love that message. Talking about your practice now, you do speaking. What are your topics that you speak about, and then also the things you practice with entrepreneurs?
Well, one of the things that we speak about, it's very natural for me to speak about, is overcoming adversity. So, it's the topic of your show, right? You can overcome anything. I love to help people who are down and out. They're in broken seasons. I mean, truly, I think God gave me just a passion for that group of people, given my experience. And he laid that on my heart that, hey, your story can be used for the benefit of others, people who are going through difficult stuff. But we talk a lot about leadership. I think the hardest person to lead is the person in the mirror. So it's not just about leading other people, but it's about leading yourself. Talk about teamwork. I work with a lot of sports teams. I'm fortunate that I get to do that work. So what does it mean to be a good teammate? What does it mean to serve others? How do you build other people up? How do you build a culture? How do you lead from the front, lead by example? And then we train a lot of salespeople. So I do a lot of work around communication, sales language, posture, body language, positioning, framing, a lot of that type of stuff as well. So all of it fits inside the bucket of performance. It's helping, people perform at their highest level and live into the best version of who they were created to be. But to give you a window into our work, Caesar, if I was giving you the 1 minute, 2 minute snapshot, I mean, that's really the essence of our work.
Got it. And if people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, our website is montgomerycompanies.com. So check out our website. I'm probably most active on Instagram. I'm Jordan M. Montgomery on Instagram, Jordan M. Montgomery. And then Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, fairly active on social media. If somebody sends me a message, it's always me who responds. So, reach out, would love to chat, would love to be helpful, would love to serve in any way that I can. And certainly appreciate that question.
Yeah, definitely. So how long have you been doing the keynote speaking and performance coaching?
How long have I been doing it, Caesar?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I've been about 10 years, about a decade. A lot of it I did inside the context of financial services. So when I started, a lot of my work was specific to that industry. Mm-hmm. Now, the last 5 years, it's gone beyond that industry into the world of sports and real estate. I work with some engineering firms right now, some medical facilities. So the work has started to transcend sales. It's really now about performance and leadership. But I'm still learning, I learning every day, getting better every day, but the work itself, about 10 years.
Yeah, got it. Talking about learning, I think that we have to be students of life, right? And really the minute that you stop being a student of life is kind of like the minute you're gonna start dying. And for me, I know that, at least for me, I want to be a student of life until the last breath that I take. Otherwise, you end up stopping and learning.
Yeah, amen. Well, John Wooden says it best. He says it's what you learn after you know it all that counts.
Yeah.
Right. And there's this paradox of education, which is the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Right.
So it's been a blessing. I mean, much like you, I get to spend time with a lot of top performers.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learn is the bigger the star, the smaller the ego. True. Because they've learned more. And it means they're more aware of all that they don't know. Typically, not always, but typically you'll find that with people who have achieved extreme levels of success. So you're right, man. It's a journey of growth, and I'm certainly on it. And every day I look back and go, wow, I thought I had it figured out. And man, I was so clueless. I've got so much work that I have to do.
Yeah. Talking about performance and everyday growing, what kind of habits or rituals, Tony Robbins talks about rituals, habits or rituals do you have on a day-to-day basis to help you get through your day or even keep you in a positive state of mind?
Well, I think faith and family are, what keeps my life grounded. It's what keeps me sane. It's what gives my life meaning and purpose. So if I'm connected to those two things every day, my faith and my family, I'm usually doing all right, and that means, time with my kiddos. It means time with my wife, trying to put the phone away. I want to be respected most by people who know me the best. And so that means I got to spend quality time there, right? If I desire to be respected, to build meaningful relationships, and I got to invest energy and time. And so trying to invest energy and time in our 3 girls and my marriage, on a daily basis, and then staying connected to the vine. For me, That's where it all starts and ends, right? It's what this life is about. Those are my convictions. It's my belief. It doesn't have to be the belief of other people, but I just believe, man, that, there's an eternity out there, and on this side of eternity, staying connected to the vine and keeping Christ, center in my life, is a big deal. And I'm just working for the Lord and trying to work under the Lord in everything that I do. And typically I think, if you're doing that, things tend to work out. That doesn't mean that circumstances always work out. We still go through difficult things, but it means that God's going to be there in light of whatever circumstances you deal with. And my hope and my identity is not in my circumstance. It's in my faith in Jesus. And, so for me, it's the rituals come back to faith and family.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And I think those are two critical things that we have to take account for in our daily lives. Looking back, what has been your biggest lessons from maybe the time that you left college to about now?
Biggest lesson. Well, I mean, part of it I just shared, right, is keep the main thing, right? I mean, I think, if I'm living for the Lord and I'm not living for the opinion of others, I've got more peace. I've got more contentment. I think when you start to live for the ways of the world, you're ultimately always let down. If you live for their praise, you'll die by their criticism. And so if I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self one thing, I mean, that would be one of the things that I would say is, hey, make sure you're not living for the praise of others. You're always going to be let down when that's what you're living for. Make sure you've got a deeper purpose and it's rooted in faith and family. And, I think the other thing is I just, the way that I spend my time. Like, I think as you get older, and this, Caesar, like, you start to go deeper with fewer. Like, I don't have as many relationships as I did when I was 20, but the ones that I do have are just more meaningful, right? I mean, part of that is having a family, right? You have kids and you get married, and those relationships require deep investment, and so I want to go deeper with fewer who go deeper with fewer, and not be so concerned about, how many friends I have or who I'm connected to. So I think, to go back to your original question, it's just, man, keep the main thing. Don't live for the praise of others, and really be mindful of how you spend your time and who you spend it with.
Yeah, definitely. For the people that might be listening to us, and you kind of talk about it, I want to see if there's anything else that you might have in mind. Anyone that might be going through some sort of challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing or several things they can start doing to start overcoming that challenge?
Well, I started doing this. A good friend of mine, John Gordon, mentioned this to me a while back. He said, I started going on gratitude walks. And, John is living a meaningful and productive life. And I thought, okay, well, if that's worked for John, then, maybe that worked for me. And so I started going on gratitude walks. And I can't say that I do it daily, Caesar, but I do it often. And I literally just go on a walk and I just thank God and voice out loud my gratitude, to just say, hey, thanks God for, and oftentimes it's the most basic things in my life. It's a roof over my head and the clothes on my back and my family and my health and friendships and relationships and the opportunity to go to work and to be of service to others. And it's amazing when I'm filled with gratitude, I can't simultaneously be anxious. So somebody listening, I would say, go for a gratitude walk. And there's a lot of science that supports the fact that, physiology and psychology are connected, right? So the way that your body moves affects the way that your mind thinks. So the gratitude walk works for me because I'm voicing out loud what I'm thankful for. I'm externalizing my thoughts, which means they become more, predictive and probable, right? If I'm thinking good things, I'm more likely to move closer to good things. If I'm voicing it out loud, my thoughts become more real. But I'm also moving, like I'm physically moving, which is a big deal. So I would say that the gratitude walks, voicing positive thoughts out loud, being on the move, being with people, being around people that fill me up, get around good people, understand who triggers you and in what direction. Are your friends triggering you for good, or are they pulling you down? Are you around people that are getting you to think abundantly about the future? Or are they always trying to pull you into the past, the good old days? Are they faith-filled? Do they believe in a higher calling and a bigger purpose? Or are they living for the ways of the world? So if you're struggling and you're listening to this, think about who you're spending time with. Think about the words that you're voicing out loud, because words create worlds. And then make sure you're moving. Whether that's great physical exercise or it's just going for a simple walk. The way that your body moves affects the way that your mind thinks. And those things will help you get through your days.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. My last question for you is, do you have any either speaking engagements coming up, or where do you normally speak?
Yeah, we got a ton. The world's starting to open back up, so that's great. I'm speaking once or twice a week, usually a few more times than that if you include virtual stuff. But financial services firms, real estate firms, you have a big sports convention coming up that I have the fortunate opportunity to speak at. Speaking to a lot of college teams this fall, football teams, it's just really exciting. So I'm just thankful, Caesar, the world is opening back up. You know, so much of my world was behind a screen working with people virtually, and now the ability to be with people is just a real gift. So I'm certainly looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Well, Jordan, thank you again for being here. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
No, man, I think the only thing I'd say is this. I just appreciate what you stand for. Appreciate the show. I love that you're in the trenches with people that are hurting. I mean, you're really trying to be a blessing to those that are going through stuff, and you're giving people hope and inspiration. And I think, Caesar, you're a lid lifter. You're lifting the lid on the potential of the people that you touch and reach. And so I just want to say thank you for being a lid lifter. Thanks for being a positive force for good in this world. And thank you for having me on your show, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, really appreciate it, Jordan. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you check out Jordan at his website, social media. I'll have that in the comments. And make sure that you share this comment because somebody has to hear this message. Stay tuned for the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.